This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts. Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Everybody Lies, our House MD show program, the one we do. How you doing, Mike?
Not too bad. How about you, Mark?
I'm okay. This episode is entitled
Kids.
Kids, that's right, kids.
The movie opens with Telly lying on a bed next to a younger lass.
Yeah, and he says, I love virgins. We see a picture of her last year looking like a 9-year-old.
Right.
Oh my God, that movie. But no, this is about This is about a diver. She's also, I think, 12. They say she's 12.
She is 12, yes.
But she's a diver, and she's going to do this big dive and everything. And she goes into the pool. We think she's going to be the victim. Something's going to happen. Then we get a fake out as someone collapses, and the ambulance is
Blood's just pouring out of his ear.
Yeah. But then we get another fake out where he's not the patient. He just has a virulent form of viral meningitis that's got the entire hospital on lockdown. But the young lady is exhibiting some weird symptoms. Her neck hurts when she moves it side to side as opposed to up and down, which is where it would hurt when you have meningitis, apparently.
And she has a rash, but she said she's had it for a while, about a week.
Mm-hmm. And so...
There are some fun parts before this because Cuddy has basically made everybody, including Wilson and House, because there's an outbreak. I think they say there's about 800 people.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's their hospital or if that's being broken up amongst hospitals in the area. But yeah, that in a very topical, seeing the hospitals being overwhelmed by people who are making sure they don't have this. Thankfully, people are being a little more rational in real life for the moment, at least.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of weird that this is like hospitals are getting overwhelmed in this episode we're watching.
Yeah, I don't know that they are though, so that's good if that's not the case.
No, I mean in this episode, it's weird. It's weird that we're watching an episode where hospitals are getting overwhelmed, and that's sort of a worry with what's going on in real life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a little funny, almost Clinic-esque type scene with House. He's talking to this woman. He's, typical House. He's like, okay, I don't think you have it, but also tell your daughter to stop wearing your clothes. Obviously, somebody else wore that. It's dry clean, but you didn't notice there's a stain on here. So, I mean, unless your husband's a cross-dresser, your daughter is borrowing your shirts. And she tells him she doesn't have a daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then, typical House, like you said, it looks like he's trying to get out of it, which he probably is, but at the same time, he's genuinely interested because these are weird symptoms that, it would pass as, meningitis, but he doesn't think it is.
Yeah, exactly. He thinks that it doesn't quite fit the
criteria.
Yeah, the criteria of meningitis, so he thinks it's something else, and he wants his people to. Now, the problem is, and this is one of those things that's that could happen. Hopefully, it doesn't happen, but could happen with this this stuff that's going on right now. Is there's no room for her? There's no room for her. There's no bed for her. Foreman needs to get a lumbar puncture to see if there's anything infection or anything going on.
And they want to rule out meningitis. They actually do give her the medication for it just in case.
Yeah, rifampin, I believe it is.
And so not only does House, take himself and Wilson off, this is very desperately needed just screening. They need literally they would normally not make doctors, take people's temperatures, but they're at that level and then they're kind of parsing them depending on if they have a fever or not. But he takes himself, Wilson, Foreman, and Chase all away from this, which Cuddy's not very happy about. So she comes in and just gives him the 5th degree.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I knew I recognized this girl from somewhere, the one that plays the patient, but I couldn't exactly remember where, but she was in Storm of the Century.
Oh, no.
Yeah, 1999. Not good.
No. Give me what I want, and I'll go away. See, I feel that I'm the only person, and you obviously as well, that even remembers that, because I fully expect that to be like in a meme, and I often look for it like as a meme, but no, I don't think anyone acknowledges that movie exists.
Yeah, everyone
Or I
blocked
guess
it out.
mini series or whatever. Yeah, I mean, Stephen King has a reputation for making bad things, or at least bad things being produced from his work, and that is a very bad thing. That and Dreamcatcher.
Oh yeah, yes. Give me what I want and I'll go away.
But yeah, so she's she's not really able to get the care that really is what she needs, because he has to do like a lumbar puncture in the middle of a crowded hallway, and like when he's about to do it, he gets bumped because people are just like passing by him, and it's like, yeah, you don't really want to fuck around when you're doing that, but then he tells her swim coach, because she's out of town from where she lives. She's trying to be a competitive diver. She's probably going to get into college. She takes it seriously. She's on a travel team.
Yep.
But so her parents aren't there. But he tells the coach, he goes, "Yeah, play some defense." So he blocks him while he does the puncture. Then they have another. Is it a bone marrow test that they need to do that, and then they end up having to go to the morgue in order to have it done?
Yeah, because they want to do a bone marrow aspiration. It's a complicated procedure. Tough and everything. And he's like, hey, she could die. And the nurse goes, well, at least she'd have a bed then. And that gives him the idea of, going down there to the morgue and doing it there.
Yeah, and in the meantime, House is still trying to replace Cameron, who he actually showed up at her house at the beginning of the episode asking her to come back, but she doesn't want to do it right now. She's not interested, so he leaves, without her signing up again. But then Cuddy insists he still does the interviews because it is a hospital, and he does have to do these things. So the first person he interviews is this guy, kind of long haired. He has a tattoo on his wrist. He plays in a blues band. Mm-hmm. He's like he's like, oh, I'm like you. I like that you're not a conformist. You do what you want. But then House goes, oh, is that a tattoo on your wrist? Mm-hmm. And he tells him what it is. He goes, oh, well, look, you are a conformist. That's the trend right now. I mean, if you really were not conformist, you'd be like Wilson over here with his pocket protector.
Right.
And so he dismisses the guy, and then, Wilson is like, yeah, he was pretty good. Because he went to Johns Hopkins for both undergrad and grad, but, he leaves, without a job.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, so they're trying to replace Cameron because she left in the previous episode. Wilson points out that Cameron was the perfect person to work for House, and he just kind of threw it away, which isn't entirely accurate. I mean, he didn't just throw her away. She decided to leave because he didn't want to fuck her.
Yeah, which is like really all from her.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so I'm trying to think what happens next. So they do the interview, and
they definitely rule out meningitis with the marrow scraping or whatever. Her team is there. They're like, kind of like, oh, well, she doesn't have cancer. They think she has cancer at some point. They rule that out. Let's see. The parents do show up finally, and they're like, well, we really have no idea what this is.
That's what happens next. Is that she starts having a bleed in her brain. They find out. So they do.
Yeah, that's what all the machines are being used up because, for meningitis, you have to do a scan to make sure there's not swelling in the brain.
Yeah. So he tells Cuddy what's going on. She's like, hey, I'll get you a room and a surgeon, in 10 minutes.
Because this whole time, it's actually Chase who suggests they do the transcranial ultrasound because he knew somebody. But there's still backlash from House, to Chase. He's been having him do the most menial assignments. He tells him to look for every condition that could involve, an attention seizure, which he also has at one point.
Yeah.
But you look up everything that could cause, a head injury or the neck pain, and he goes, well, that's miles of things. He goes, well, you better get on it then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's obviously torturing him because of him, fuck him over with
Vogler. And I do like that they keep that on. Some shows would just forget it, okay, but he does so bear a grudge, and even though he suggests a transcranial thing, he has Foreman do it, which chafes Chase, but no one likes Chase except for my wife, who claims he looks like a Australian Michael Pitt.
Okay.
But yeah, so they do this massive bleeding on the brain. So Cuddy, she is at her core, even though this might be the first episode they point out that she's like dressed like provocatively.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think House says, "Oh, I feel like I need to go to that store and get some kind of fruit."
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, she does this all the time, but whatever. Yeah, so she realizes how serious it is since they do detect she is bleeding into her temporal lobe. They do intracranial drilling to relieve some of the pressure on her brain, and that's about when her parents show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
there was another interview, and you want to tell about that one?
This one is so this is the attractive lady walks in, or is already there, and basically House tries to kind of like get her under her skin or shock her or anything like that. And she says something like that she's Jewish, and he goes, is it true what they say about Jewish foreplay? And she says 2 hours of begging, and he says, I heard 4. And she goes, well, actually, I'm only half Jewish.
And then he goes, just a good half.
And it's, she basically says, she's like, look, I grew up with brothers. I know about you. You have a reputation. If you don't touch me, or anything, we'll be fine. I don't care what you say, and everything. And she walks out, and Wilson, I know that what's his name, Sean or whatever,
Sean Patrick Leonard, I think.
Robert Sean Leonard or something like that. I know that he's a stage actor, and that there's several stage acting references in this show over the years, but he does like one of the more obvious ones where he's like, that's our Hitler, because it's from the producers.
I actually didn't know that, but when I was brushing up on it, I didn't see that.
So, he basically says, hey, she's perfect, for you.
He's all over her. It's, he's like, you've got to hire her. She's got the whole thing. And then House goes, well, she's not wearing comfortable shoes because she was wearing like kind of high heels. But I mean, at the same time, it's an interview.
Yeah. He's really picking, like very, very much nitpicking, things. And I mean,
there's a funny part where Wilson goes, oh, those are Prada. And he goes, those aren't Prada. You wouldn't know what Prada looks like.
Right. And it's like, come on, she was in Cellular earlier, like the year before. Come on, you gotta hire her. But remember that movie Waiting?
Yeah.
She was in the sequel to that, Still Waiting.
Oh no.
She was also she was Garcia's hooker on an episode of Reno 911.
Nice. Somebody in it, my wife tells me was in Justified.
Oh, really? Well, it's not Justified himself.
No, it was Justified himself isn't in this. But yeah, I can't remember. Oh, actually, that's not true. That was something else I was watching. It was the movie The Other Guys. Oh,
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I was watching a couple movies today. My children stayed the night over at their grandmother's, and then my 6-year-old and 11-year-old apparently didn't sleep at all last night. So it was just like crying on the 6-year-old's part, and then she kind of fell asleep.
Nice. That's always the best.
Right.
So they do this drilling into her brain. They relieve the pressure, but they still have no idea what's going on. And this is the point where this is kind of like one of those not miracle things, but it's like where there's no medical reason for it. House just notices something.
Yeah, it's like the aha moment that's the key to any House episode.
Yeah, so he's just like, hey, what do we know about this girl? Let's go back to basics. And they talk about, everyone like the balloons, everyone visiting her and stuff. And he's like, hey, what about the boys? What boys have visited her? And Foreman says, actually, none of them have. And he's like, oh, she's cute. She's a really good diver. She's a nice person. Why wouldn't the boys want to hang out with her? Or have a crush on her or something. And Foreman's like, well, the youngest one is like 16 and she's 12. So, I mean, it
Then Tom Hanks walked in.
right, exactly. I mean, it does make sense to me that like they wouldn't be, she's not like, you look at her in this episode and it's not like you say, oh, okay, they say, I don't know how old she actually was when they filmed this episode, but it's not like you look at her and say, okay, she's 12, but she's, she's actually started to develop her womanly body. She really hasn't. She still looks like a little girl. So this doesn't make a whole lot. I don't know if this is a casting thing or what.
I didn't notice.
But this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me where it's like, I could see 16-year-olds not being, not having a crush on her, basically. But he says...
And then he also sees the balloons. He notices the same material as her swimsuit. So, I mean, he doesn't think it actually did cause the reaction, which is what she said it was.
Right. So, they, he goes, what if the rash wasn't a rash? What if it was bleeding under her skin? And, they figure out that maybe the boys are avoiding her because she was with one of the boys and, got in trouble. So they do an ultrasound and sure enough, she's pregnant, quite a bit pregnant. And she has something called TTP, which is, thrombotic, thrombocytopenic purpura.
It's also a song by Naughty by Nature.
Exactly. But basically what it means is, blood clots form in the tiny blood vessels in your body, and they limit the flow of blood, and it can happen in pregnancy. So they, he says, hey, you're gonna need medications to get rid of this, and you're going to need surgery, or we're gonna need to terminate the pregnancy. And she says, can you not tell my parents? And then he says, and I don't understand this. He's like, well, according to the laws of New Jersey, you're the boss. So if you don't want me to tell them, I can't. She's 12. She's a minor. Like, are those...
Yeah, see, my wife and I actually talked about this quite a bit. She watched the episode with me. I'm not sure what the actual law is in this, because I do recall around this time there was like a hot button issue where like people were wanting laws that made it where you didn't have to disclose this kind of stuff to your parents, like reproductive stuff, or even if you got like a disease, they were trying to make it so that kids would feel more comfortable because like as far as like going to the doctor, like some people, I don't get it, they just won't reveal everything about them, like especially if you're like a minor and like you don't want to say in front of your parents I had sex or whatever. I thought they were trying to, or maybe they did, make some places at least have a law where you can see the doctor alone when you're that age, which is also kind of, obviously you don't want like a third party in there, which really especially weird with the morgue part was it was just Foreman and the girl, like not even the coach went down there with them.
Right, yeah.
Which you think is a bad idea for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know why maybe they weren't thinking of it at that time, but yeah,
apparently, according to the AMA, because I just looked this up, according to the Code of Ethics, I guess in certain jurisdictions, I don't know about New Jersey specifically, but I guess in certain jurisdictions, the law does permit minors who are not emancipated to request and receive confidential services relating to contraception and or pregnancy testing, prenatal care, and delivery services.
See, I think that probably is, I can almost guarantee that does take place in New Jersey. Then if it's they probably like use it almost like Law and Order. Yeah,
exactly. So then I guess it does make sense. He talks around it with the parents, and at one point they're like, can't you tell us more? He's like, actually, I can't.
Yeah, and he's like, he refers to it as an abnormal growth, which is kind of, very Houseian. He's trying to look at drive-by, report to the parents. He doesn't want to talk to them. He's solved the puzzle, so he has no more interest in this, really.
Yeah, exactly.
But he does, to his credit, he does, tell her, he's like, you should tell your parents. I don't know, I'm not sure if it's just his obsession with the truth or what, but he does insist, that she tell the parents. So he walks away. He's like, yeah, she's fine. They're like, well, when can she go home? He's like, yeah, a few days. He's just very, very minimally telling them information, trying to get away from them.
Yep, exactly.
And then we do see a scene later where she does tell her parents.
Yeah, she does, and you know they seem to be understanding and everything. I don't know if she's gonna be diving anymore, but
Right.
I don't know that I'd let her be go out without us anymore. But in real life, Sky McCole,
I feel that you would learn your lesson from that.
you would think so. For sure. I mean, House points out, like, you know, somebody comes over with some beers. The next thing you know, you're waking up with out your pants on or whatever. We don't know exactly how it happened. She says it wasn't like that, that he was nice. He turned out to be a jerk, but whatever.
Yeah. What? Do you feel that it might have been the swim coach?
I thought that that's what they were hinting at the whole
That's what I
time.
thought they were going to say ultimately, but I don't know.
But apparently it was some a team member or whatever, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, to her credit, she does say, "No, I wanted this. You know, I wasn't, forced. I mean, she's 12, so I mean, there's obviously a great argument that you can't give consent of that, age.
Right. That she's not mature enough to make that decision, but
right, because and actually, the actress does kind of look like on the fence about it herself when she's first talking about it. So
yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, it seems very realistic, like how someone would act. I think she's a good actress, even though she's only in this. And would you say she was?
Oh, she was in The Patriot. She hasn't appeared in a movie since
The Patriot. Maybe that's where she looked familiar from.
Yeah, she was in Storm of the Century.
Oh yeah, Storm of the Century.
But yeah, she hasn't been in anything since 2013 because unfortunately, in real life, Sky McCole Bartusiak died at the age of 21 on July 19th, 2014. Apparently, she was an epileptic and she died of an accidental drug overdose. I guess she had hurt herself or something like that, and she was found dead in her apartment by her boyfriend. Apparently, according to the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences, that her death was the result of an accidental drug overdose, or accidental drug mixing. The combined toxic effects of hydrocodone and two other things that are epileptic drugs. So basically, she wasn't supposed to take this hydrocodone with her epileptic, drugs to limit her seizures, and she did. And a deadly interaction caused her to die. Apparently, tragically, at 21 years old. So
yeah, it sucks.
But yeah, she was definitely a good actress. I think she did really well in this episode. And then at the end, she House goes to Cameron. There's another interview where basically he's like, the position's filled, and she's like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah, did you know who that was? Did you recognize the actress?
No, who is that?
It's Lisa from Coming to America.
Yes. Okay, I was gonna say she looks somewhat familiar to me, but I couldn't place her. But yeah, Lisa from Coming to America. Excellent.
Yeah, she's like, I called this morning to confirm there was an interview.
Right. He's like, what do you think? If you keep arguing, I'll just give you the job.
Right. She almost seemed like a Foreman-esque character, and I don't mean because she's black either.
No. But yeah, she was definitely, I will challenge your authority kind of person.
Yeah, which we already have. We need another, sycophant like Chase.
Right, exactly. So House goes to Cameron's apartment and says, I want you to come back. Don't like she says I've already got another job. He asks with who. I'm wondering, is there a doctor she could name where he'd be like, oh, okay, fine, that's fine then. It's a good job. But he's like, don't go with him. He's boring. He's a jerk, like whatever. And he's like, I want you to come back. I need you. And she's like, I told you, I can't come back or whatever. And he's like, what do you want? You want more money? You want a better parking spot? She wants a date with him.
Right.
So he has to agree to a date to get her to come back. And that will will come up. That continues. It's not something they throw away. That continues.
Right. Yeah, which I expect from the show because they are good at following up on like big plot points like that. Like like we already mentioned, they keep having him hate Chase as much as the audience does.
Right. Exactly. Excluding
my wife.
I do see it a little bit though. The Michael Pitt thing. I never thought about it before. A little. He looks a little. It's the hair, especially.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is the episode of House for the week. We'll be back next week with the next episode. I can't remember what it's called, but I think the episode after that is 3 Stories.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which is my favorite one of the season. But yeah, so that is the episode this week. As always, tell friends about the show. You know where to find us. Listen to the other shows too. Listen to the main show. Listen to Massive Late Fee. Listen to Dumpster Diving. Listen to all of it because all of it is just the best podcasting you could ever think of.
It's all tied together.
That's right. We will see you next week. Bye.
See you next time.